welcome to the first ever Hollie's Hotspurs live. I wish the result was a little bit better, but there we go, we can't have it all. But nevertheless, I am joined with two players. First, we have Mel, otherwise known as SeballosTv. Apart from the result, Mel, how are you feeling?
As good as I can be, but thank you for having me on.
That's all right, no worries. And also, we have JayJaySZN, otherwise known as Jay. Jay, how are you?
Pretty much the same answer as Mel, to be honest. After watching that game, there's only so many emotions you can feel.
Yeah, I think that's the best answer. But anyways, so I suppose we'll have to try and begin with some sort of conversation. I think the first one will probably have to be this defence. As we all know, in recent weeks, it hasn't been the best. But tonight, we saw a combination that included a centre-back partnership of both Sanchez and Dyer, Tanganga and Davies. Mel, I want to start with you. How are your feelings on that lineup this afternoon?
I'm going to be honest. I think I saw you tweet this as well. I don't think there's any line of defence right now that will make me feel relieved, when I see it. I'm not really happy with any combination, but I know we've got Reguilón out, which I think has been a massive miss for us. I was shaky about Sanchez in the lineup. I finally conceded defeat on defending Sanchez, but I was surprisingly quite impressed with him today until that blunder. I thought he done really well. He was really putting himself on the line with the blocks, but until that. But we'll get to that. I did think the team looked quite attacking, so I did actually expect us to go a bit all out. I was happy to see Tanganga in the lineup as well, but that's all I can really say about the lineup. Yeah,
it wasn't the best, was it? And I know Jay has some feelings on Davies. So, Davies, I'm going to come to you on that, Jay. What are your thoughts on Davies?
Well, the thing is, I've always said this about with Tottenham at the minute, with the way that we set up. I thought originally, Ben Davies can play in a 4, because if we're gonna play this three central defenders and then with the wing backs with Reguilón or Aurier and Doherty on the other side, that'll work. Davies would never work out there. Then obviously with Reguilón being out, we transitioned into the 4, and I thought, you know what, he's playing left back, not going to have to do that much going forwards. All he's got to literally do is defend. But I genuinely don't think that he could get in the Swansea team that we bought him from anymore. I was watching it with my dad, and there was literally a moment where Sterling was one-on-one with Davies and was, I reckon, 10 yards away from him and knocked it past him and then nearly got it on the other side as well. It's just, at this level now, there's no way that can be confidence with that defence with Ben Davies playing left back. As for the rest of the defence, it's impossible to say because we haven't played the system that I think that we have the players to do. It's all about the wing backs for us, and we are, sadly, if we're going to keep the same personnel we've got, we are, I think, going to have to play 3 in the middle, because you need the extra defender to compensate for how awful we are defensively until we get someone in the new season. But until then, we've got no chance for Ben Davies.
It's interesting. With Davies, I always thought with Davies that he was just a player. I've never really seen him put in a standout performance. He never really, has had a great performance, but I never really thought he particularly had a rubbish performance. But especially recently, he's really been a standout player for me, and that's not for a good reason. Yeah, so I'm done with Davies. I've said enough about him, so I don't want to do it today. But
the only thing I would say about Davies is that, and I've said this before to a couple of other people, I said, if he was to accept at his age that he can't play that position anymore, because the wingers in the Premier League are only getting better and younger. If he was to accept that he can't play that position and we went into a 3 and he played left centre-back, I'd feel more confident than him playing left-back. If they were going to be adamant on keeping him in the team, if we weren't going to get anyone else, that's the only way I see him having a chance of getting in there.
No, I fully agree. I think at the moment, Jose's tried loads of different ways to try and sort out this back four, and any position he plays or anyone you think is going to play in there just can't do a job. Obviously, we've just touched on Reguilón. Do you reckon Reguilón coming into that back four would sort it out in somewhat?
I do think Reguilón is stronger attacking than he is defensively. For a brief period, I feel like I'm not like comparing them as players, but you see when we had like Rose and Walker as the fullbacks, I really thought we were kind of somewhat going back to those days where our fullbacks were our weapons when it came to the attack. I do think he'll improve it, but I feel like if we get Reguilon back and we play more attacking, I feel like we're going to leak even more. So I'm not really sure. I mean, Reguilon will definitely improve that defence, but I still have the worries, about conceding. But I do think he'll offer more attacking-wise in particular. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I mean, like we've touched on, Reguilon will add that attacking play, but again, do we have that defensive nature? And that's another thing I want to bring on with this whole Jose in and out business, because this is the thing that's going all around the works at the moment. Do you say this is down to Jose picking this defensive lineup, or is it purely because these players are not up to scratch? Jay, I'll come to you first.
I think the thing is with Jose, and obviously with what he inherited from the manager before him, the thing is that he's picked up a defence in which all of the players, in my opinion, are probably past their prime. If you look at Toby, Dyer, even Sanchez has looked, like you said earlier, Mel, he's looked better, but after tonight, it kind of again shows. Like there's been a lot of people I've seen on Twitter over a long time ago saying, Sanchez isn't good enough. He never will be good enough. The price tag we paid for him. But at this point, for me, I've already seen it in the chat like 2 or 3 times. Why is Rodon not playing? If it's that bad, it reminds me of Gareth Southgate with England. It just seems like we won't drop players because of their stature within the club, because of how long they've been with the club, because of all of this, and just kind of go, Joe Rodon's had after the mistake v Chelsea, that was about it. But apart from that, I've seen him play, and it's nice to see an exciting centre-back come through. If you look at defensively as well, I've said this, you look at the boys that play pre-season, so you're talking your Harvey Whites, your Dennis Kirkins, those kind of boys. Is Dennis Kirkin going to do any worse of a job at left back than Ben Davies? That's the thing. It's just like, we meme Chelsea all the time for having all these young players in great positions that never actually get to break into the first team. But then in these scenarios, we're still playing Ben Davies. We're still, Eric Dyer at the beginning of the year, and I'll put my hand up and say it. He was unreal at the beginning of the year, and we were telling fans everywhere that Lee's like this resurgence, and now it's like, what are these young boys going to do? Harry Winks is still in the team, and Harvey White's playing down, like literally around the corner from where I live. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just don't understand it. I don't understand it.
No, it is a funny one, and I don't really know where we can go from this in a sense. And because of that defence, I feel like Højbjerg, especially tonight, we've seen that he's conceded 2 pens in 2 games. Now, I know there's a bit of debate on whether these pen decisions were maybe a bit, shall we say, harsh, but nevertheless, do you think, Mal, this is because he's got to have the weight of the defence on his shoulders, or do you think he's purely just losing it a little bit?
With Højbjerg, I've always noted him as a very tidy player. I think Højbjerg has been carrying this defence for a while, and he's hardly had any rest. So I think maybe he's just knackered. I saw this with Eriksen. When we had sorry, I'm going with my Eriksen agenda again. But back when we had Eriksen, he just got ran into the mud, and it showed. There would be certain sloppy, decisions he would make. I'm not going to say Højbjerg because I think Eriksen was one to shy out of a tackle, which is the complete opposite of Højbjerg. But I think it just comes down to when you're knackered, you are prone to those, lousy one-off mistakes. The penalties were very controversial, in my opinion. The one tonight, I saw a certain angle where Gundogan actually got his leg. It was very clumsy of Højbjerg to go in the first place. However, there wasn't no contact when he did come in. Gundogan got the contact first, and then that caused the knee-jerk reaction of Højbjerg following foot to then go into him. So yeah, that was a very controversial penalty for me. But to me, it's just, it's Højbjerg just getting run into the ground and, as you said, carrying the weight of that defence. And I just think he needs a break, honestly.
Going off that, I totally agree, because he I was watching this with my dad tonight. I said he looks, the last couple of games, he looks desperate. It's like he reads every single tweet that a Tottenham fan puts about how much they admire him and his heart and everything, and he's taken it literally, and he's just desperate. That tackle on Gundogan miscontrols it. That's the only reason he wins the penalty, is because Gundogan miscontrols it. That ball's going off for a goal kick, but Højbjerg just has to be there every time. He feels like he has to be there because he has to cover the defence. I totally, there's no replacement for him. No replacement for him in our team at the minute. So he's having to play every game.
With the sorry, going back on what you said about the defence thing and the whole Jose thing, I'm not saying Jose's blame free. Jose has his flaws, sometimes his tactics, sometimes the substitutions he makes. But I feel like the problem is way broader than Jose. We've still got the same issues we had before Jose, and if we don't sort them out, we're still going to have them after Jose. You can see he doesn't trust the defence, because that's the one part of the pitch in particular you're always seeing. You can't predict that part of the lineup, when they get released. He's constantly chopping and changing that defence. You can see he doesn't trust it. I don't blame him either. If I had that defence, I would be throwing as many men behind the ball as possible. So, and then you can see it showed in the Everton game. We've gone more attacking and we've conceded 5. Again, there's a conversation to be had. I had this not long ago about the whole, them trying kind of thing. But you've got to look at the opponent. I am fed up tonight because it's individual mistakes as usual, which is a problem we've had before Jose. And we're going to have after, as I said, if we don't sort this out. Remember, Poch said he wanted an overhaul. Remember, at the end of Poch's tenure, we was horrible. And Poch said himself, we need a squad overhaul. So from when Poch says that, a lot of the people that want Jose out loved Poch. So if you love Poch, listen to what he says and realise this isn't just a Jose problem. This is a lot bigger than him. Jose wanted Skriniar. We never got him. I'm not trying to disrespect Rodon here, but you can see that wasn't a first choice. He wanted a more established centre-back. So I try to reserve judgment for Jose until we get that centre-back in. Until I see an established centre-back, and then I want to see, what can Jose do now? But until then, I can't blame him for throwing that many guys behind the ball. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree exactly. I mean, you can see it on Twitter. I mean, Twitter's probably the worst place to see it. But he's the first man to blame. And to be fair, kind of what Adam says here, and the fact that Jose is the one that decides to choose who's on that pitch. But like we said, who are you going to choose out of that back four? Because there's so many players at the moment that are going to cost us. It's individual mistakes again. But moving away from the defence slightly, I think we need to touch on Lloris. I mean, there's obviously a lot of talk about him at the moment, that is he past it? Is his time numbered? And I just want to get your thoughts on it, because obviously tonight and against Everton, I feel like he wasn't to his best. So, Jay, I'll come to you first on the whole Lloris topic. What do you make of it?
Well, having played in goal for many a year, but not saying I'm at Lloris's level at all. But the goals tonight obviously were, for me, the penalty. I was watching it on some Dookie stream because I can't afford Sky. But on the pundit, one of the pundits was Michel Vaughan, and we were talking about the penalty. And obviously in a penalty, it's always so difficult for a goalkeeper. Hugo Lloris has got a vast experience of saving penalties. He saved many a big penalty. The one against Arsenal from Aubameyang was obviously the huge one. And obviously the one against Aguero is obviously another one. But tonight, as a goalie, it's frustration, but it's also like, I think you've got to take the penalty out of it because he's guessed the right way. That's an art in itself. To then save it is another art on top of that. Especially with the new rules about coming off the line, and I know a lot of my goalkeeper mates have said the same, it makes it impossible for the goalkeeper to save a penalty without guessing 2 seconds before the penalty taker's taken it. Obviously, he gets a hand on it, he'd be frustrated. But then the second goal was just, the Gundogan goal, there's just no excuse whatsoever for that. I'm sorry. We saw it in the Everton game, with the goal he conceded there. But the one tonight, his foot's there and he's gone for it with his hand. It's like he's almost scared to save it with his foot. I thought it just slipped under him. But the fact that you saw the replay back and you saw him consciously make the decision, it does make you question it. But then he is Hugo, like that Everton game, he made a couple of mistakes, but some of the saves he made were absolutely top class. So is his days numbers? I don't know. Is his days numbers while Gazzaniga's out on loan? Definitely not. Would his days be numbered if Gazzaniga was still in the club on the bench? Potentially. But, you know, he's not. It's never going to get that bad that Joe Hart's going to start in the Premier League.
No, that's a fair comment. I think we can all kind of agree on that, I think. And I kind of like what Adam said here about the fact that ever since Lloris broke his arm against Brighton on the crossbar, it hasn't looked the same. And I think I can kind of agree to a sense to that. Because, like, I feel like it has dipped and then he kind of brought it back in. It's kind of dipped again. But is this maybe because of the players in front of him? Who knows again? I feel like it's a big mismatch of things. But I'd like to just maybe put a lighter note on things at the moment because I know we're all kind of a bit furious at the game tonight. But I think we've also got to highlight the fact of Ndombele. What is everybody's takes on him at the moment? Are we impressed by him? Do we think he needs to do more? I'll start with you, Mel. What do you make of Ndombele at the minute?
I've never got enough good words to say about Ndombele. I talk about ever since we got rid of Dembele, that period of time between us getting rid of him and getting Ndombele, we were really, really lacking, you know, that kind of player. I'm still not going to commit blasphemy and say I like him better than I ever liked Dembele, but him just, you know, connecting that. It's hard for me to talk like this when we're not really playing like this right now, but the way he could connect, you know, our defense to the attack and just carry that through the midfield and unlock, you know, the other team is amazing. But I still think we could see a lot more of Ndombele if we replaced Eriksen. I still think we need that creative player, you know, slotted in there to really, I think that will completely bring out the best in Ndombele. So I still don't think, you know, he's hit his ceiling, but he's been one of my favourite players this season. I'm really impressed with him.
I think that's what you said there about the whole playmaker role in front of him. I think that's been the issue with Ndombele for me watching is the identity of how he played, because is he a central midfielder that gets forward? Is he a creative midfielder? Obviously, later on in the game, when Sissoko came on, he got pushed up into that cam role, as it would be. Yeah. You know, is that where we want to see him played? Or, you know, when Dembele played, like you said, exactly that. We had Wanyama, who you could, you know, if we were to compare that squad to this squad, you got Wanyama would be your Højbjerg, who would sit there, do nothing, literally just break up the play. And then that gave Dembele that chance to go on those runs, to do those things. But, you know, that's the thing. Are we saying, and I agree with you in the sense, I don't think playing him central attacking midfield is the best place to put him. You know, and I don't think we should force him to go up there. We need to replace, or Dale needs to pull his finger out of his ass. You know, it's just like...
And I like that you've pointed out Dele as well, because we did actually see him make the bench and come on. So are we feeling that Dele might start to get a bit more influence into the game, or do we think this is maybe Jose making a stint to say, look, I'm going to try and push him forward because you all want him and you're all moaning about it? So, Mel, what do you make on Dele?
I'm a bit torn on Dele, in all honesty. I don't think Ali is the player he was years ago. I know a lot of fans want to see him start, so I don't want to get slaughtered for this, but I don't think he's the player he is years ago. I feel like the way we play football, you see, I think it's a game of fine margins. You know, we don't get many when we go forward, when we're attacking, we don't get many opportunities to do that. And I do feel, especially in recent years, when I feel like Dele Alli's running, I just feel like, you know, in slow motion, he really slows down the play. And I feel like when we only get these few chances to counter-attack, you know, I feel like that's not something you can be doing. However, I don't think we can get much, you know, worse now. And on the contrary, I do believe Ali's little, you know, his clever flicks and right place, right time kind of play in and around the box could be key for us. So I'm very on the fence about Ali, in all honesty.
Yeah, no, it is difficult. I mean, I think we all secretly want him to do well, but at the minute, I feel like he's got that chip on his shoulder. And I think after Jose kind of battered him down, I felt the fact that he's lazy, maybe that just got under his skin a little bit. But hopefully, like you said, we've got nothing else to lose. And I think that's something I'd like to bring in with Bale as well, because obviously I feel like Bale and Dele at the moment are kind of on the same vibe. And I can see Jay is laughing about it. So I suppose, Jay, do you want to take me up on your whole Bale scenario?
I think the Bale love story was over from the day it started, just because of the expectation and you know, we've got a lot of mates that aren't Tottenham fans, and you know, we all went out, we all bought the shirts, we all, you know, posted the memes from however many years ago, saying, you know, this is going to be it. But you know, we've still got the long-haired Real Madrid Bale that sat on the bench and done nothing. You know, me and one of my mates, me and my mate Lee, we always joke and say, when he cuts his hair, that's it. Once he cuts his hair, that's it. He'll be back into prime Bale. But the moment he's got that Real Madrid hair still going on, it was just over from when it started. You know, the West Ham miss, I think, is a key part. You know, if he scores that goal against West Ham, obviously the West Ham game we don't want to talk about, but you know, if he scores that goal against West Ham, it totally changes. You know, against a rival club to score a goal, you know, that would have been ideal. But ever since that miss, I think it's not been what we've wanted, and it's been to the happiness of everyone else in the league, because we were just so excited. It was such a pickup for Spurs fans, and then it's just been awful. It's just been awful.
Do you know what? I feel like with Bale, I really do feel like he's kind of just back for the vibes. It's unfortunate because when he was rotting on that Madrid, when you're rotting on that Madrid bench, I never thought like he was going to go back to the Bale, you know, of 2012 and that. But if you do want to get some shape back out of him, well, how do you do that? You can't be sitting on the bench. You need to get, as someone said in the comments, that frequent game time. But I feel like Jose he might be like in a position of, you know, desperation right now with this team. He's thinking he's still not in shape. Can I afford to be giving him these practice runs kind of thing, considering the position we're in? I don't know, but yeah, as Jay said, I do think the Bale dream was over when it started.
There was one glimpse of it though tonight, and my dad pointed out that bit of skill at the end that he had to beat 4 City players, and then it was just the finish. But if he scored that goal, you know, we're sat here going, "Oh my God, Gareth Bale, what an absolute baller!" But you know, we're not. That's the point. We're not sat there. You know, you've absolutely summed it up perfectly by saying he's literally just come here just to pick himself up a little bit. Do you know what I mean? It's yeah.
Yeah, no, I've always had this thought that obviously the Euros are coming up, and I feel like it's probably his last chance for Wales, so maybe that has something to play in it as well. But do you reckon because of this he'll go back to Real Madrid, or do you reckon? What do you think? What do you guys think? What do you think, Mel?
I think as soon as he goes back there, do you know what? Not even as soon as he goes back there. I think right now they're probably looking at the next club they're trying to get rid of him to. In all honesty, I don't think that relationship will ever be repaired. So yeah, he's off.
Because we got the extension, we got the option to extend, haven't we? If we wanted, or is it?
I believe so. So if we want him, we can extend it. But
that's the thing. If he goes back to Madrid, then I think he'll sit there for a year. To be honest, they'll either pay him off or he'll sit there for a year. There's no way. It looks to me like he's like fallen out of love with football to an extent, because you know, you kind of come back to Spurs and you thought, right, that'll pick him back up again, and then he comes back and then he's kind of giving off the same vibes that he had when he was at Madrid. Apart from the fans don't hate him. That's the only difference. We don't hate him. We can never hate him for what he done for us. But yeah.
But yeah, no, it's not good, is it? But anyway, what was I going to say? Now we spoke about the defence. I just want to pick up on 2 guys that I think at the moment I thought played okay against Everton, but tonight I don't think it was there, and that's both Lamela and Lucas. Now I know Jay behind him has something that I think he wants to talk about.
So this is my trash can, which I've now put my Lamela shirt over, just because I have been slated, ruined, destroyed by every single Tottenham fan on planet Earth for having faith in number 11. Since the day we signed him, I was always just like a lot of people are with Dele at the minute, just hoping, you know. And obviously, like you said, the glimpses we saw at Everton were kind of like, oh yes, you know, this is it. My man's going to be back. This is finally the year. It's only taken him 47 years to get to this point, but he's here. But then, you know, Hollie, I've said to you before, tonight proves exactly why he can't start football matches. He can't. He's not good enough to start football matches. You know, just because he is an impact player that picks up the pace. He comes on, he throws himself about. If the boys are a little bit demotivated, they see him running around the field, kicking people up in the air, and it gets them going. You know, like that's all he's for now. And I saw him start, obviously from Everton, it was obviously like, oh, this could be good, but I'm done with him, sadly. I've got 3 Lamela shirts in my wardrobe, and I just can't believe I'm done with Lamela now.
Yeah, I think he's run his course. Obviously, I've had him at the club for so long, and he still hasn't lived up to expectations. But regardless, unlucky for you, Jay. But nevertheless, Mel, what are your takes on Lucas at the moment? Because obviously, there's lots of people saying that he kind of find a little bit of form when he managed to run slotted ball through to Sonny for Sonny to score in the game in recent weeks. But apart from that, what do you make on him? Do you think he's got a start in place for Tottenham, or do we need to maybe shift him out now?
I'll be honest, I think our days of Lucas are done, in all honesty. Like you said, I do think he has his glimpses, but I can't honestly see anything Lucas offers that Bergwijn doesn't. I'm going to be completely honest. Okay, I know, just as I said that, I remembered people are going to bring up statistics. Like Lucas has actually got maybe a few goals this season, and Bergwijn doesn't. So I've always been honest about, you know, Bergwijn not having that end product, but that position, I just feel like when it comes to him and Bergwijn, but I'm talking about Lucas and I've started talking about Bergwijn here, but it's linked, okay? So with Bergwijn, you know, I feel like we're a lot more assured on the pitch. We seem to have more of a balance. You know, the attack looks a lot more assured. I don't see that with Lucas. I feel like when Lucas is in his, you know, bad patches, which seem to be quite often, I feel like he just looks really clumsy, you know, on the ball. He's giving it away. And as I said, with this style of football with the fine margins, I just don't think we can afford that. So I don't think he deserves a starting spot, and I wouldn't be angry if we got rid of him, in all honesty.
Yeah, and I think it's this thing that he's still riding on that Ajax semi-final. I think that's the only thing that everybody goes to is the Ajax semi-final, and it is kind of grating me at the minute. But regardless, saying that, obviously, Kane. This is another topic that everybody keeps going on about, and whether Kane will stay if we don't actually manage to win something this season. So my thoughts on it are, I feel like Kane might be a one-man team, as in he'll want to stay to reach every personal accolade he can at the club. But I also agree, when you look back on your career, you want to be able to win trophies as a club. So, Jay, I will go with you. What are your takes on Kane? What's your thoughts and feelings?
I think, you know, as a lot of, you know, Twitter users, the Twitter users that watch football, because that's what we are, I think it's difficult to judge Kane, but the only way I can judge Kane is going off what other people have said. Like professional players, managers. If you ask any manager under the sun, they would have Kane in their team, even now. But for me, I think we won't know until we know whether he's going to be a one-man club or not. He can say that he is, and we all hope he is. But, you know, when does it get too much? If we don't beat City in the League Cup final, do you, like, you know, that's the question. Do you see him going, yeah, I'll give this another year? You know, he's got what, 60 goals to Jimmy Greaves? That's that, what, three seasons if he gets 20, it's 20 a season. That's 3 more seasons if he gets 20. If he gets more, he gets more. If he gets 20, that's 3 more years he'd have to stay here. And even if we win the League Cup final, and, you know, Barcelona are in disarray at the minute with obviously Koeman, would Kane be that? Would that save them? Real Madrid, Benzema's getting on. Would that, you know, that's the thing. We won't know till we know with the Bale situation, sadly, I think. But yeah.
No, that's a fair take. I think, obviously, like we said, is winning the League Cup going to be enough for Kane? But Mel, if that is the truth and he does decide to leave, where would he go? Where do you think he'd go?
I wouldn't be surprised if City try nab him up, to be fair. You know, Aguero's getting older. I think Harry Kane is definitely a player that is good enough to build a team around. I wouldn't be surprised if he went overseas, and I wouldn't be surprised if City nabbed him up. Whether I think he would go to another club in the Premier League is another story. Linking that to what Jay was saying about the whole one-man club thing, to answer these kind of questions, I feel like I'd be bringing his character into question, and I don't know the man, so well, off my own assumption, it's easy for me to sit here and say this. I don't think he would go to another Prem team. If he did, I believe that would be City, and I wouldn't be surprised if City nabbed him up. But it's hard because with I definitely think we're over reliant on Kane. But then at the same time, I feel like if you say that too strongly, it's quite a disrespect to the players, like Højbjerg, who has been carrying that defense, players like Ndombele, players like Son. So I think it's very easy to say, we're a one-man team. But we also do have a lot of other very key players. So, yeah, I don't know.
That's what. Do you reckon it's because we're seeing him playing in a role that includes his crossing and his passing more than just his shooting ability? I mean, there was a quote the other day that he's like a quarterback in the NFL where he'll throw the ball and then get in the end of it. So it's like he's kicking the ball to then get on the end to score the goal as well. So do you think that's something he's added to his play? Do you think that's why we're so dependent on him now?
Yeah, definitely. I saw, people saying he's our best attacker, our best midfielder, and our best defender. I'm not really, mad at that either, because he really has been doing a lot more. It worries me because I feel like, I got worried for a certain period that Kane may be burning himself out, kind of Michael Owen-esque. So it does worry me seeing him do a lot more and be a lot active, as we know he can be quite fragile with the injuries. But yeah, he really has been important for us all over the pitch. So I don't know. The way we're going, I would be mad if he wanted to leave. But
the thing is with Kane as well is it's the argument as well, and I've seen it within the fan base and with opposition fans as well, is are we putting the dependence that we have on Kane in the same light as the dependence that we have on Son? That's an argument that I see quite often. We talk about Kane all the time, but if you take Son out of that team, I think if we lose either of those players, it would have the same impact on the team. Personally, for me, I definitely think they're two totally different players that play two totally different positions. But if you lose either one of those, it would be exactly the same impact on the club. Kane's having to do all these things, but we'll probably get onto it in more detail about how we're playing at the minute and stuff later on. But Kane and the attacking players are having to get back more because they just don't trust the defense. The man stood next to them. They do not trust them to do their job. Anyone that's played football, there's always that one player in the team that is awful, so you always double cover them and make sure they're all right. Well, Bale and Son in the midfield have got to do that for the whole back four. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
I feel like with the when people say, "Oh, you take Kane out that team and then nothing," kind of thing. I feel like you could say that about a lot of teams. Take their best player out, and they could be impacted a lot. But I don't take the argument too seriously, because look at what happened when Kane got injured in 2018, 2019, when we got to the final. We were absolutely fine without Kane, and then turned to, they're better without Kane now. But apparently we were Harry Kane FC before that. So it's a very flip-floppy argument that I don't put too much thought into. But we are definitely very reliant on him. As you said, he's, I think Kane's doing certain other jobs because, some of the players in the team aren't trustworthy and they feel like they have to kind of clean up after the rest of them. And it is worrying. It really is.
It is, and I think that's why we're all struggling, I think, as well. And I like what Alan, is it Alan? I can't read from it. We need 2 centre-backs and a playmaker, and Danny Ings would be nice. I think I agree on the fact of Danny Ings, but the fact that Jose will not play Vinny now and again if Kane was injured, we've seen that, and we've seen that he doesn't trust Vinny as much as he does Kane. Would that be the same with Danny Ings, do you think? Or do you think it would be different because he's played in the Premier League? What do you think, Mel?
I honestly can't see any valid reason why Vinicius wasn't getting game time, So I don't know if I put that down to a personal vendetta against Vinny, then I could say I don't see why we couldn't bring in Danny Ings. But I don't know. Again, I think it's just, Jose, again, not trusting a lot of this team. So he feels like he has to play Kane. Would bring in someone else, not as great change that? I don't think so. Because as you said, Vinny's kind of proof of that, unless it is a personal vendetta. But it is worrying that we don't see enough of Vinny. I do feel like he's deserved it. He has came on, and he's maybe not had the service around him, or he has tried to make things happen. I've seen that quite a few times. So I can't, he isn't getting played. So would that change for Danny Ings? I don't really think so, to be honest. I feel like Jose has, his favourites, these undroppable players. And, if Vinicius can't even make the pitch, I don't think Danny Ings will, to be fair.
I think that's the thing with Vinny, and I was just thinking about this as you were saying it. If Vinny was a permanent transfer, I would say that Vinny would play more. I think if we're saying that Vinny, he's playing cup games and he's playing Europa League games where we don't need Kane and Son as much, so he can play, he gets game time. You don't know what's in the contract. You don't know when he has to play, when he doesn't, because obviously a lot of these loans, especially more outgoing than ingoing, when we send our boys out to, Newport, Portsmouth, any club like that, there'll be a clause in there that says they have to play. But, when we're recruiting players like Vinny, and there's probably not something in his contract that says that he has to play. But then are you going to pick Bergwijn to have a go up front because he's a permanent member of your club over someone that's going to go back to Benfica? That's the thing. It's I love Vinny, but it's just maybe that's the reason, but I don't think it is. I agree with you, Mel. I do think it is either something personal or he just feels like he just can't drop players to get people in. It's just, I don't know. Yeah.
So I thought Vinny was alone, to be fair. But then, I don't know. It's hard because Reguilon plays a lot. And wait, was Reguilon alone? No, he wasn't.
Reguilon's permanent. Yeah, he's got a buyback. Yeah.
Didn't they? Okay, yeah, no, forget what I was saying. Carry on, Hollie.
So yeah, that's the thing. So we obviously called out for squad depth, and that happens. But I'm having this torment with myself that is there enough quality? And I think we've highlighted tonight that there generally isn't. And I think going forward, obviously, I don't want to put too much of a negative spin on it, but what do you expect to happen on Thursday when we play in Europa League? Do you think there'll be a lot of change in personnel, or do you think he will still put faith in Kane and stick him up top and give him more minutes? So I'll go to you first, Mel.
I definitely think there'll be rotations, but I still think he's going to go with Kane, or maybe slap him on the bench and then bring him on after. We all know Jose loves a Europa League. That's his bag, and he does take those competitions very seriously. So I couldn't see him fielding, a weaker team or doing a lot of rotation. I think he'll personally field the team he's most comfortable with, and Kane is definitely part of that. So yeah, I do think Jose's going to take this game quite seriously.
Yeah, I think we. Oh, sorry, go on, Jay.
No, I think that's the thing. It needs to be whether we go with the approach of win it and it's close over two legs, or we go with let's kill it first game. That's the thing, because that's the thing. We've got such a tight run of fixtures, as it always is in the Premier League for every team. Before someone thinks I'm a Liverpool fan, I'm going to start crying about the fixture list. I'm not. I'm just saying, if you can make fixtures easier for yourself, then why not? If we play this first leg, put the big boys out, put 5 past them. I'm not saying we are, but if we did, then that would mean that we could play whoever we wanted in the second leg. So it'll be a statement of intent, whatever team he puts out on Thursday night. If he puts out the big boys, he's saying let's kill this game. If he puts out the B team, as it would be, then we'll see us slugged out over 2 legs game.
I think that's the best way to put it as well. I think it would build momentum if he goes out to try and slaughter the game. Obviously, with everybody down at the minute, not fans and players included, I think it would just be a big boost for everyone. But regardless from that, looking ahead to that game, I think we've also got to sit back and think. We've been a bit negative on this stream tonight just because of the way the game's gone tonight, which is fair enough because it's not great being a Spurs fan at the minute. But I just want to get everybody's thoughts on what their gem has been this season in terms of, I know it might be quite hard to have a think now, but what is the one player that stood out for you that you thought, actually, we need this player in this team, because without him, I feel like we don't have anything going forward. So, Jay, I'll go with you. Who's your gem at the moment?
Until today and Everton, I would say Højbjerg. But I think, again, that comes down... I'd still go with Højbjerg. I think he's been exactly what we need. I don't know whether this is a PG stream, but we need a shithouse player that's just going to, everyone watched the documentary. We lacked that, under the manager before Jose. We weren't, apart from the Battle of the Bridge, we weren't a dirty side. We weren't tactical. We weren't conniving. We weren't time wasting. And me and Dad were watching it. We just, Højbjerg could just kick someone up in the air just for the lols. As a Spurs fan, it's that battle cry. It's that, he's obviously Danish like Eriksen. He's got that kind of Viking-ish kind of like war cry ability, where it just, by him just being how he is, it just brings the rest of the players around him, and it just kind of gives them that relaxation that they know that he's there to back them up if they mess up, because he'll take someone out and he'll take a yellow card, but he's definitely been the standout. The only other one for me would be, if he played more, would be Joe Rodon, but he hasn't played enough to even be put in that category. So yeah, that Højbjerg for me, definitely.
Mel, have you got a hidden gem, someone that might not everybody look to, or is it just someone that's pointed out been the best for you?
When you say someone, if I'm talking about a bit underrated, I would have said Aurier, but I don't think he's warranted the kind of gem term, so I'm going to drop it. But I do want to make a note that I think he's been quite underrated and the turnaround, but I'm just going to say gem now. I was going to originally go with Højbjerg, but because Jay said him, I'm going to go with Ndombele. Not quite hidden, because we've seen quite a lot of rave about him, but I think that the reason I'm just so happy about Ndombele, apart from his play itself, is just the turnaround. Us thinking, he was going to be off soon, and his relationship with Jose not being repaired, and then him just turning it around, and just, for me, being one of our most key players, getting the ball through that midfield, looking so effortless while he's doing it. I see a lot of people talk about his power and that, but to me, it's his technical ability and some of the decision making, his passing range, his burst of pace. He's really brought in a little bit of, a fire to this team. And I can't remember the last time I've ever actually had a bad word to say about Ndombele. Maybe when he was going through his problems with Jose, but yeah, it's got to be Ndombele for me.
I'm glad that you've brought up Serge Aurier as well, because I wasn't the best advocate for that man. It must be said. I was doing my nut every time he played last season, but it is true what you said. He has had a massive turnaround, and I think saying that, obviously, I think Matt Doherty has been a big letdown for us, and that moves me on to what I want to say next. And I know we could pick a long list of letdowns in this squad at the moment, but Mel, I'd like to go to you. Who is the biggest letdown at the moment for you?
Letdown infers that you had hope in the first place, but I'm still going to say Davis. No, actually, I'm going to say Dyer. I changed that. Dyer. Do you know I'm going to say Dyer? Because he more fits this whole letdown thing, because at the start of the season, I actually had some hope in Dyer. There was a point where I said, Dyer and Toby was my favourite centre-back partnership. And I really thought things, were looking up. Him and Jose's little weird relationship, whatever that may be, I thought, Dyer started to perform, but then he's just gone back to being a meatloaf. It's like, I can't say Dyer will have like a consistently terrible game, but those mistakes he makes, I just can't count how many points, he's lost us. I can't remember what game this was. Was it Liverpool or was it Brighton? I can't remember, where there was, their attacker was an inside run. You could spot it from a mile off, but he's just not looking, not helping out Lloris. And I've got to say, he's the player that's probably infuriated me the most this season. So yeah, I'm going to go with Dyer.
Going off Dyer. Oh, I can hear myself lap back. Going off Dyer, I can totally, what Mel said there is exactly right. And I've seen one of my mates, Adam, put something on Twitter that was the same. I think it's there's been 5 fixtures this season in which we've dropped points due to an involvement of Eric Dyer in an incident in the game, be it a missed tackle, be it a giving away a penalty, anything like that. You know, that's 6 games where we've either dropped points from a winning position or there you go. Adam said there. You do understand. Yeah, well, that's a very good point, Adam. But I think as for letdowns this season, obviously Bale's got to be in there. But for me, the biggest one, but I don't even think it's his fault, is Matt Doherty. You know, Wolves have absolutely done us a dirty with selling us him in the fact that they've gone, you know, we're going to transition into a 4 at the back this year. Matt Doherty can't defend to save his life. He's a great wing back. He gets goals going forward. He gets assists. But defensively, is he a defender? No. You know, like Mel said earlier about Reguilon, is Reguilon a defender? Yeah, he's a little bit better, but he's not a defender. He's definitely a wing back. He can do a little bit of both. But, you know, at the minute we're playing, and this is why I keep going back to, we dominated with 5 at the back when we had Vertonghen, Alderweireld and Sanchez, and then had Walker and Rose. That was the model. That was, for me, the model. And all we needed to do was just find that extra player in that position. And Matt Doherty could be that, potentially, if we played 5 and gave him that freedom. But we don't. We play 4, and he will not get in the team, and he will be awful, and he will continue to be awful the whole time we play 4 at the back. He can't play there. He can't play there.
You know what? You're being quite fair on him, to be fair, because I always say the only positive I see out of that signing is he made Aurier. He put a stick up Aurier's arse to start performing.
That's also true. That's also true.
No, that brings me back to Serge, because, like I said, I really didn't rate him, and the fact that Matt Doherty's come in and had an absolute stinker just kind of highlights that we needed someone better than Serge just to push on a bit and have Serge's backup, and it's kind of reverted into the opposite. We've got a backup for Serge that isn't as good as Serge, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, I agree with both your statements. I think obviously Bale was the letdown in the nostalgia aspect, and obviously Dyer, because I don't rate Dyer at all, and I think it's unfair to me to say that he was bad at the start of the season, because I think we all kind of thought at the start of the season, especially that run during Christmas, that we could actually go on and do things, and now it's kind of just all the cracks are opening at the same time, which isn't great. But yeah, and from that, I just want to move on to what are your aspects and hopes for the end of the season? What do you hope to have when we have the final day of the season? So,
sorry, can we just go back? I think there's one person that has had an honourable mention that we haven't mentioned yet, and that is the fluffy man sat behind you, because he has been absolutely awful this year. Absolutely awful.
Yeah.
I whoever bought you that seriously needs to reevaluate what they were doing with their life. But you know, the thing is I can't believe I didn't say in the first. Yeah, it was me. I think it was. The thing is, the first time round, you know, I've said this, and I've heard many a fan say this. If he wasn't Tottenham born, bred, fan the lot, Harry Wanksy, exactly. That is exactly it. He is awful. He is so bad. You know what, Harvey? I said Portsmouth train at the end of my road. Like, I can literally walk out my house and see Portsmouth train. I would personally drive Harvey White the other way and send Winks to go and play with Portsmouth, because he's. I can't believe I didn't mention him the first time round. I couldn't go this podcast without bringing it up. I'm sorry, I couldn't.
I just feel like you've caused it, to be honest.
I've jinxed it.
Yeah, but no, I'm not too happy about Winks, it must be said. Like we just touched on, the fact that he went from sideways to backwards to now think he can score from anywhere on the pitch. And we kind of highlighted on Everton when he had a shot and he hit the corner flag. So that just kind of highlights the extent to how frustrating he is. But nevertheless, what are our hopes and aspirations for the end of the season? Mel, I'll start with you.
You're asking the jinx here. Let me tread carefully.
We're going to see sound bites on Twitter.
Okay, I'm going to tread carefully with my wording here. I'm not going to say realistically. I'm going to say ideally, and this would be great. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but this would be great. Is I want to win Europa. I can't lie, that's the main thing I've got my eyes on. I've kind of lost hope for the league, and me knowing how much Jose, goes for that cup and it being a route back into the Champions League. If we don't get top 4, I'd be completely happy with Europa. Would I be happy with just the League Cup? Oh, do you know what? As a Tottenham fan, I probably really shouldn't be looking down on any trophy, but will it justify what we've been watching? Absolutely not. So I'm I'm hoping for a top 6 finish and Europa League. Realistically, no, actually, no, I'm not doing it. You're okay.
Just leave it.
I would echo the same kind of thing with regards to the Europa League. But again, I think it will be Thursday will be the statement of intent from Jose where he stands on the Europa League. If he plays the big boys, then for me, there is no excuse. There's enough teams in there that there's a couple of teams that have maybe dropped down from the Champions League, which could cause issues. But unless we run into another one of the English clubs, there's no team in there that I think we should lose to. We could very easily lose to. We could lose to Wolfsburg on Thursday. That we could, but there's Europa League is definitely, as long as Leicester and Arsenal go out. Maybe not Arsenal, but as long as Leicester go out, I reckon we still stand a chance. But as for League Cup, we try and avoid it. But like Mel said, it's a cup, man. I just the meme, just to stop the meme, because we've won a trophy. I don't care if it's the team. I get bantered by Portsmouth fans that they've won the St John's Pates Trophy and the League 2 playoffs. Because they're trophies. That's the thing. Anything's a trophy. But the League Cup for me would be, I'd be happy with a League Cup, and a top 4 finish. I don't think would be on, but if it would, it'd be great. But ideally, I think at least European football next year would be nice.
Yeah, I echo your thoughts. I think anything's better than the Audi Cup at the minute. So to get a League Cup and then be able to hopefully win Europa and get into UCL would be a massive bonus. So
Europa,
yeah, but who knows?
Still don't have. So.
Yeah, it's very true.
And like we've touched on, I think Jose is probably, I feel at the moment he's been there, he's done it. I feel like if there's any manager we need to try and bring this defence together, it's got to be him. And that's another thing on this stance. I think there's lots of people at the moment are still in this Poch dreamland, and you've got to be frank with people. He's not coming back right now. We're stuck with Jose, and I feel like that's the kind of vibe we've got to live off at the moment. And it is rubbish watching boring football, but if boring football at the end of the day wins you a trophy, so be it. So, but I'd like to say thank you both for coming on today. I mean, it's been an hour of me trying to host this. I hope you guys are all right with it. But thanks again for both of you coming on. You can obviously go find both of these guys on their channels. Mel, if you want to plug anything, go for it.
So I will be taking a break from my YouTube, but I will be back next week. So that is on Twitter, Instagram and YouTube, SeballosTv. And I've also started a new Spurs podcast with some of my friends, and that is called Pain from the Lane. And that's very on brand for this episode. So thank you for having me on, Hollie.
No, that's all right. No, I'm really glad you actually accepted to come on, because I just want to highlight, Mel, that you have done a brilliant job at the moment with all of the silly memes going around, but it's a true tribute, because I think if you did give this sort of thing up, I think it would be a waste, because you're cracking at what you do. So make sure you all tune in to Mel as well, because she is class. And Jay as well, is there any last words you'd like to say?
No, just I've gone a whole podcast without saying the name that shouldn't be said. You said it a minute ago, and it just got me. You just got me a little bit. But I didn't nibble. I've gone a whole podcast without saying his name, so I'm proud of that. This is the first time I've been on a podcast before, so you can find me on Twitter at JayJaySZN, and I also stream live on Twitch. I'm currently trying not to get sacked as Tottenham manager. Again, very on brand, as Mel said. So you can find me on Twitch at JayJaySZN. Streaming football manager.
Awesome stuff. Thanks again, guys. And thanks to everyone that's watched. Sorry I haven't been too interactive with the chat. I'm still getting used to what I'm doing. But hopefully we will have another Hollie's Hotspurs live soon. But thanks again, everyone, and see you later.